2, 1.
Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August 17th, 2023 board meeting for the Arizona Commission for the Deaf and the Hard of Hearing. I call this meeting to order. Can we do a roll call, please, Kyla? You're muted, Kyla.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Brimhall.
Here.
Commissioner Venkatesh.
Here.
Commissioner Williams. I believe he's here. Commissioner Benton.
Here.
Commissioner Madsen.
Here.
Commissioner Thompson.
Here.
Commissioner Scarborough.
Here.
Commissioner Cinco.
Here.
Okay. I think I've got all of the commissioners. Oh, Commissioner O'Rourke.
Here.
Then ACDHH staff present. Sherry Collins.
Hello. Here.
Carmen Greensmith.
Here.
Nikki Sukup.
Hi, I'm here.
Sue K. Nipel.
Hello. I'm here.
Victoria Vaughn.
Here.
Ricky Gonsalski.
Here.
And myself, Kyla Dalton Nava.
Great. Thank you so much, Kyla. It's so great to see everyone. I'm so happy everyone was able to make it tonight. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Is there a motion on the floor to approve the minutes from the May 18th, 2023 meeting?
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Scarborough. We have a second from Commissioner Williams. Thank you so much. The approval of the minutes passes. I'm going to take a moment to provide you with my chair's report. I have the pleasure of announcing that we have 2 new board members. I would like to take a moment to introduce Commissioner Scott Madsen, who will serve in the role of a deaf representative. Welcome, Scott. I would also like to introduce Virginia Thompson. She will be serving as the Hard of Hearing representative. Welcome, Virginia. We're so excited to have you here, and we look forward to hearing your input in board meetings. I also have some incredibly good news to share with everyone this evening. I was speaking with Director Collins earlier this evening, and ACDHH now has the ability to do hybrid board meetings, meaning board members will have the option to attend meetings either virtually or in person. There's a new platform available to us, so we're so excited that at the next board meeting, which will be November 16th, You now have the option of attending in person or attending remotely. That is great news I wanted to share. I will now turn the time over to Executive Director Sherry Collins, who will be providing us with her Executive Director report and update. Sherry? And I will turn my camera off in the meantime.
Well, good evening. And before I start, I would like to represent our Attorney General. Mr. Bacon is here, so I want that documented that he has joined for this evening. All right. So as far as the report goes, I picked some highlights for tonight. Going back, one more thing, I do want to congratulate, and I am thrilled to welcome the 2 new board members that have joined us. Both of them have taken training and they have received the orientation, just like the rest of you have been through an experience. So they've worked with me and Kyla last week, so they are ready and now prepared, I think. Also, this month, some of your terms may expire. So what we're going to do is we're going to follow up with each of you and gauge your interest and your eligibility as well on continuing your participation. So we'll be following up with each of you on that a bit later. All right, so I'm looking at my interpreter, Teresa. Is it okay to go ahead and move forward with the report? Okay. So we wanted to make sure the technology is good and we're all clear. So I have several items that I would like to share this evening. Various information from our agency report. So as you all know, we have an internal governmental agreement. It's called an IGA, and we have that contract with ASU. And that's for our hearing assistance program. And we have had that in place since 2021. We are thrilled that we have expanded that to 3 major universities throughout Arizona. So now U of A, NAU, and then also ASU. So we have expanded those services to serve more people throughout the state. And that also includes the audiologist program as well. So we are so thrilled to have expanded that and expanded our services. So as you know, PV is our new family and youth services specialist. And he has been quite busy outreaching and giving presentations. And his presentations are quite important to the Department of Services and Children's Safety. So it's been about 300 participants have taken his training, and that has been thrilling. It's great that we've had that opportunity to partner with them for child safety and services. So the age of access, that survey that we partnered with Gallaudet University on, that is still open, and that's open until the end of September. So our ultimate goal is to get 300 responses. We're getting closer to that. I'm not sure what we were at. It was about 200 and something at this point. So we're looking forward to reaching that goal of 300 responses. So please help us by reaching out to the deaf and hard of hearing, deafblind community who are 55 and over so that they can complete that survey. I would really appreciate your help in that. Next week, on Friday, on August 25th, it will be our first in-person staff retreat. And that will be at our office. We are going to have a full day, a full agenda planned. Gallaudet University Research, we partnered with them with the aging survey. So they're going to fly out and spend about 2 hours with us that day and share their report and what they have found, and then also prepare us to do the second phase of the survey. And that will be more with a focus group in the fall. So I'm really looking forward to that in-person event and gathering next week. So for about a year now, we have been working for getting access to hybrid services, whether it be in the office and taking turns and working in a hybrid way, Monday through Friday. So we are haven't had a lot of walk-ins since COVID. Everyone is utilizing remote services, Zoom and email and the like. So we have built a kiosk, and we have that right in our front lobby. Once you come right in our suite, it is there and available. So if no one happens to be in that office that day, they're able to use that to be able to contact remotely our office staff who are available. There's chat options there. They can chat with office staff, or they can utilize a video conference software that's on that kiosk as well. So we will be working with all of the staff working from home on Fridays. And then Monday through Thursday, we will have someone at the office. If someone wants to meet and make an appointment with one of our staff members, and it happens to be on Friday, the staff will make themselves available to come in person to the office on any of those Fridays with a prior appointment in place. So with media, we have had a lot of different articles being printed, TV interviews, focusing on aging and our specific project related to that. So we are thrilled to have several things and gotten a lot of exposure on media lately. So we have had a few staff that have moved on to different opportunities. Becca Bailey, Sarita, who worked in the front desk, and then also Amri, who worked with licensure with Victoria. Those three have moved on to other opportunities. And currently, Carmen and Nikki, both of them are very, very busy recruiting. One position right now they're starting to interview for. So we are working on backfilling those 3 positions. So I do want to talk about the initiatives on Older Americans Act, the OEA. And then as far as the Older Americans Act, the reauthorization as well. So there was notice provided by NPRM, and there were 2 different groups. One was related to Medicare, and that was for older adults. And we have filed comments on that, and that was due, I believe, back in June. So that was related to communication access service for our community. And then the most recent one was August 15th. And that was a quite important comment that we needed to file. And we had to take a different approach with this one, because Arizona is leading in this topic regarding aging for our deaf and hard of hearing communities. And then just even at the national level, really no one is talking about this until I started reaching out to key national organizations regarding this topic. Since I am a member of the National State Agency of Services for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, and I was the president of that organization as well. So that's a nonprofit organization for all state directors like myself throughout the states. And within that organization, NASHA, I came to them and then I proposed that they lead this partnership with the different national organizations to be able to sign one document on this Older Americans Act. And then also, as far as administration goes, for ACDL. And that is the core services that really impact at the state level. So we were successful in partnering. We got several signatures from NAD, the National Association from the Deaf. We also got signatures from the National Senior Citizens of America, and then also TDI as well. And then NATION. So we got those signatures, we submitted that, and HLAA, I did meet with them at the national level, and I had discussions with them prior, explaining the need for their participation. I was hoping that they would join in with us on this, and they declined to sign that letter that we proposed. And the reason they declined, they just weren't prepared at that point to review the NPRM. So because I displayed my disappointment with them not signing that document, later they did decide to move forward and go ahead and file a comment, a limited response comment on their own, on their HLA letterhead. So I just wanted you, the hard of hearing community, to know that we did take that approach, and I hope that you can reach out to HLA as well on that topic. So I was in Washington, D.C. for the NDI conference. And prior to that conference, there was a special meeting, a new forum that was set in place. And there was for the Board of Associates, it's called BOA. So during the RID conference, we were invited to that. And this was a new board that was set in place. And TDI did still have that as well. And the Board of Associates decided to provide our expertise and suggestions for TDI to be able to bring that information to them and have them share that with their board of directors, showing various examples of Apple and Google and what they have done, T-Mobile as well. Showing those big companies and how they've been involved, and VRS, and states like Arizona, North Carolina who've been involved, Washington, D.C., their Office of the Deaf as well. They were all at the table. It was a quite diverse discussion, and we were able to give some great suggestions regarding that vision. So when I was in D.C. as well, I got the opportunity to meet with our U.S. Senator, Senator Kelly, and their staff. We had set up that relationship in the past on my last visit in April. So going back, I got to meet with them again, and we had a great discussion. We followed up regarding our plan regarding the reauthorization that's coming in 2024. We discussed the timeline and what our plan was to address some of our concerns to make sure that we are included in that reauthorization. So we suggested some of our proposal related to the language and some things that they need to consider. Well, believe it or not, many national organizations like US Aging, AARP, they hadn't even discussed this topic of the reauthorization as of yet. So hopefully they will start in the fall. So again, Arizona is leading the way. We are starting those discussions. And our Senator Kelly, was quite thrilled to learn from us. And now he is more aware and what to watch out for. And now we have that full support and full interest from his office. So we have a lot of attention on this and very important matter. Also, I went to the National Deaf Senior Citizens of America Conference, and I gave a presentation on this important topic. And the word is really starting to get out there within the community. We need people to really pay attention to this topic. So the next thing that we will be discussing with national organizations, I already contacted US Aging, and we're talking about that reauthorization and the language that we want to make sure that is in that act. So we have different key organizations supporting this. So that's what's currently been going on regarding that. So in March, the US Aging has their annual, what is called briefing regarding policy issues. And that is at the Capitol in DC in March. But this time I brought an army of people with me. I had various national organizations that serve deaf throughout, and we were there in person, and we were able to bring up discussions and concerns and pose questions to get attention for this topic that really impacts our community. So there's so many things happening, and I'm very excited about all of them. Okay, so I guess that wraps up my report. Some of the other things are the budget that is listed regarding our request, and we'll talk about that a bit later. Suke will present on that. And then also public policy, Nikki will provide an update on that. All right, so Madam Chair, that completes my report for today. Any questions from anyone?
Thank you so much, Sherry. Wow, you have been busy. And I have to admit, I'm a little bit jealous that you got to meet with Mark Kelly. He was my idol growing up. I always wanted to be a part of NASA because of him. So thank you so much for all that you've done. We appreciate you.
All right, no questions. Thank you.
Do the board members have any questions for Director Collins? Oh, I do see Commissioner Scarborough. You have a question? The floor is all yours.
Yes, I do have a question regarding last year's task force. So will there be any updates regarding that from PV Jans? Thank you for asking. Yes, Nikki will cover that in her report, and I believe she's next. Great, thank you.
Okay. I do want to move a few things around on our agenda. Instead of going over the executive director evaluation next, I would like to move up the interpreter complaints. We will move that to the next part of the meeting. We have 3 interpreter complaints that we can get started on.
There's actually 4.
Excuse me, my bad. There are 4.
And then, Madam Chair, also, we do have one public comment as well related to April Welsh. So when we get to that name, we will let that person make their public comment.
Okay, sounds good. Sherry, forgive me, I cannot recall how the process works. Do I need to call Victoria? Okay,
Yes, correct.
Victoria, if you wouldn't mind coming on, giving us the rundown on the 4 interpreter complaints. Thank you.
My pleasure. Good evening. All right, so the first complaint on the agenda is for interpreter Victoria Conley. So a summary of this particular inquiry or complaint states that this inquiry came about during an ACDHH meeting on April 12, 2023, where interpreting services were required. Ms. Victoria Connolly, who holds a provisional C license, which is a license that means the interpreter is qualified to provide interpreting services only when working as part of a team with a general Arizona licensed interpreter or a Arizona legal licensed interpreter. Ms. Connolly appeared alone to interpret the ACDHH meeting, despite the terms of her license stating that she should always work with a team. In a previous similar situation, as the investigator, it was recommended that a civil money penalty be assessed for this type of allegation. However, during this investigation, it was determined that Ms. Conley was not compensated for her interpreting services on April 12, 2023. In addition, there was much confusion that seemed to stem from the interpreting agency she was hired through, the hiring entity, ACDHH, and Ms. Connolly herself. So given the circumstances that Ms. Connolly was not compensated and considering the circumstances of the confusion, the investigator is now recommending a letter of reprimand for this particular inquiry. Does anyone have any questions?
I see Commissioner Benton has a question. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that summary. Would you mind describing Wednesday, the interpreter program? So it says ACDHH offered an interpreter program, something it's called Wednesday. And it said Victoria was involved.
Yes, so that's a good question. That was part of the confusion. So what Ms. Conley was referring to in her answer was a workshop that ACDHH held for the provisional licensing holders to educate them on the settings that they can work in, educate them on resources for moving to certification, obtaining their general license. So that was a workshop that we held to explain licensure. There was some confusion about what that workshop was.
Thank you for that.
Do any other board members have questions before we move forward with some action? Hearing none, do we have a motion on the floor? I see Commissioner Benton.
Yes, I have a motion to support the recommendation to send a letter of reprimand to Victoria Conley.
Okay, we have a motion to send the letter of reprimand. Do we have a second?
I second Debbie
Okay,
Venkatesh.
I see Commissioner Venkatesh with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right, looks like we have many board members in favor. Does anyone oppose this motion? Okay, I saw some cameras turn on, then off. I think it might be best to do this through a roll call. Kyla, if you wouldn't mind coming on to do a roll call for us
Of
to avoid
course,
some confusion. Thank you.
no problem at all. Okay,
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Aye.
Commissioner Venkatesh,
Aye.
Commissioner Brimhall,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Benton,
Aye.
Commissioner Mattson,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
and Commissioner Cinco.
Aye.
Sorry about that. I thought I called you, but
How could you forget Commissioner Scarborough? All right. Thank you so much, everyone. The motion carries, and we will send a letter of reprimand. We can move on to the next complaint, and this one is against April Welch. We do have a public comment. Kyla?
yeah, I think that comment is coming from Joseph Genova. And I'm just going to make sure that he starts his video and then we'll get started.
Did you need me to read that public comment? I'm sorry, the policy regarding public comments?
Yes, please.
Yes.
The board is.
Sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
The board is responsible for establishing time limits for public participation. Unless modified by the board at a particular meeting, each speaker is limited to 3 minutes on all topics. Personal attacks on board members, staff, or other persons in attendance or absent are discouraged. Individuals are cautioned that statements concerning others that could be considered slanderous may subject the speaker to civil action. Those who violate this rule can be barred from future appearances before the board. This applies to both public hearings and board meetings. Your cooperation is appreciated.
Thank you, Commissioner Benton. And hey there, are you Joseph?
Yes, I am.
Fantastic. The floor is all yours.
I am new to this Zoom meeting, so I'm glad to be on.
I'm happy you're here. I'm going to turn my camera off. That way people have a better access to seeing your video.
Okay.
Welcome. Go ahead.
Oh, I can
Go
begin.
ahead with your
Okay.
comment.
Okay. Thank you. Yes. Hello. My name is Joseph Genova. And I am here to speak on behalf of the Yuma deaf community. We are looking for specific services here in Yuma. Because of the remote location, many resources are lacking, whether it's in the healthcare, legal system, and unfortunately, we are not able to access resources. The Yuma deaf community have asked for support, and unfortunately, we have not been heard. So I would like to recommend establishing a program similar to ASDB or the SMILE organization, where an individual can actually work on site here in Yuma to support the deaf community.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Thank you. Board members, I would like to take a moment to apologize. I believe I've had the impression that comment was in relation to an interpreter complaint, but it apparently wasn't, and I apologize for the confusion. All right. We will now be going over the case of April Welch. Victoria, do you mind giving us the summary of this complaint? Thank you.
Sure. Okay. So this complaint was filed by Mr. Joseph Genova against Mrs. April Welch. The complaint alleges unprofessional conduct on Mrs. Welch's part during a meeting on April 24th, 2023. The specific allegations include, number one, Mrs. Welch failed to interpret everything that Mr. Genova said during a portion of the meeting, where an intense conversation took place. And number two, Mrs. Welch left the meeting early, leaving Mr. Genova unable to communicate effectively with the remaining parties on the call. Both parties, Mrs. Welch and Mr. Genova, acknowledged that there were points in the conversation or the meeting where things got heated and there was an overlap of speaking and signing. However, the investigator did not find evidence to support the claim that Mrs. Welch neglected to interpret for all parties during the meeting. The investigator was able to confirm that the meeting, which was scheduled from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., ended at 3:18 p.m. This indicates that Mrs. Welch complied with the scheduled time and even extended it by 18 minutes to facilitate effective communication. The investigator has reviewed the evidence related to a complaint involving the interaction between Mrs. Welch, Mr. Genova, and two attorneys on April 24th, 2023. And I found that there's no evidence to support the claim that Mrs. Welch acted unprofessionally during the interaction. As a result, the investigator is recommending that the complaint be dismissed. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Victoria. Does the board have any questions for Victoria? Commissioner Benton?
Thank you. Thank you for the summary, Victoria. I guess trying to reread through both all of the documents that have been provided. I guess it's unclear to me the part about so when the consumer seemed to not be clear that the interpreter then disappeared, was vanished. It seemed that there was some communication that was missing between the consumer and the interpreter, that there was things that we would normally do if we were at an interpreting job, so that everyone present knows, I'm sorry, this has gone 18 minutes past the time, I need to be leaving, or whatever it is, but it seemed that the consumer was unaware of what the interpreter was doing, and then poof, they were gone.
Yeah, so and yeah, reading through the documents, it is hard to tell. It's hard to prove either way. If there was that communication to say, I'm ending my time, I'm leaving the meeting. I don't have a way to confirm, because both of those stories of what happened are different. Mrs. Welch says that she let the parties know before the 3 o'clock time that she needed to leave because she had another assignment afterwards. And like you saw, Mr. Genova says, no, there was no warning, no conversation, no goodbyes, just gone. So unfortunately, I was unable to confirm either of those.
And if I may add, this sounds a lot like a he said, she said kind of situation.
If I could just add,
Commissioner Benton?
it must have been traumatic enough that it would bring a consumer to file a complaint. So I guess I just reading through that, I know it's not a simple process. I don't think it's a something that people take lightly, filing a complaint. And reading through this, I would support that we take some type of action rather than dismissing the complaint. I thought it was really interesting in the history that there were 3 complaints against the same interpreter back in 2016. This was before my time, and they were all dismissed. I mean, I think it would behoove us to take some type of action and at least inform this interpreter that that this is something that we take very seriously, and I think that we need to at least send them a letter of reprimand, something to say you need to be aware of your behavior and your actions.
Based on what I'm hearing, Commissioner Benton, would you like to make a motion?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I'm also interested if other people read through this, if I'm seeing something that's not there, or I'm open to other perspectives. So I don't know if any of the other commissioners sees things differently than I do.
Okay, we can move forward with some discussion. I see Commissioner Williams.
First of all, I apologize for fumbling around with my computer here. That it's some of the functions have changed. I was just going to ask if it would make sense to assign some education electives for Miss Welch that would reinforce the principles we're trying to uphold.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. You brought up some great points. Are there any additional concerns or input to be shared, Dr. Collins?
So I was just informed that it seems that Joseph is expressing a concern on YouTube. So we're trying to bring him in and bring him back to give him the opportunity to share. So before we take action, we're going to go ahead and try to reconnect.
Absolutely. At the moment, we're just waiting to see if Joseph is able to connect back with us. While we're waiting, is there any additional discussion? Sherry?
What we can do is we can move down to the next complaint and then give them time to connect. So we can move down and then move back up to that complaint.
Sounds good. We can absolutely do that. Let me see what's next. Victoria, do you mind giving us the summary of the next case?
Absolutely. So the next case is for interpreter Jessica Wade. Mrs. Wade disclosed on her initial application, her recent initial application, stating that she worked 21 days without a license after her license lapsed November 19, 2021. Mrs. Wade reapplied for her license recently. Her most recent generalist license was issued on June 22nd, 2023, and it will expire June 22nd, 2024. Prior to reapplying, she held a generalist license issued on November 18, 2010, and she held that until it expired on November 18, 2021. Even though her license was lapsed for 19 months, she states she did not work regularly and that she only worked 21 days out of the 19 months. And the investigator recommendation for this one, bear with me a moment. Similar to other complaints where the interpreter has worked without a license, the recommendation is to pay a civil penalty of $10 to $50 per day for the 21 days worked without a license. Again, that's just a recommendation for that range for that time frame of working without a license. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Board, do you have any questions for Victoria? Commissioner Benton?
This is becoming a habit.
Yep, take it away. You're our subject matter expert in this area.
So I'd like to move that we fine Jessica Wade $10 per day, equivalent to 21 days, and that's $210.
Okay, we have a motion to fine Jessica Wade $10 per day worked for a total of $210, I believe. Do we
That's
have a
correct,
second?
210.
This is Commissioner Brimhall. I second that.
We have a second from Commissioner Brimhall. Kyla, can you do a roll call for us, please?
Of course.
Thank you.
Commissioner Venkatesh,
Aye.
Commissioner Cinco,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Aye.
Commissioner Benton,
Aye.
Commissioner Scarborough,
Aye.
Commissioner Brimhall,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
and Commissioner Mattson.
Aye.
All right, it seems that everyone is in favor of the motion. The motion passes. Thank you. Give me just 1 second. Apparently, we do have Joseph back. Kyla, could you bring him back into the Zoom room, please? Hi again, Joseph. Before you begin, I want to take a moment to apologize about the misunderstanding that occurred earlier. Give him a moment. Joseph, are you able to see me? Joseph? Are you able to see me? Maybe he's still connecting. Let's give him a couple of minutes.
Hello, hi.
Hi there, are you able to see me?
That's a little glitchy.
Huh. Is my picture frozen?
Hello?
Are you able to see me? I think he might be typing something.
Hi, everyone. I am chatting
Kyla,
him through YouTube to let him know that
maybe
we
tell
can
him to
see him
try
within
signing
Zoom.
out then signing back in.
So, okay, I
Uh,
could definitely do that.
I
Oh,
can't see
are you able to
everyone.
see?
Can you see me? On YouTube, I can see the screen. I'm looking at the live stream on YouTube, but
Huh. Are you able to see me? This is Katie speaking.
this is yeah, I can't see you. I mean, I see you on the YouTube and I have the Zoom on. I know you can see me, but the YouTube's the only thing I can see on my screen, not the Zoom call.
Okay, let me try something. Interpreters, do you mind turning your videos off for just 1 moment? Maybe that'll force his to see me. Thank you. Joseph, now are you able to see me? Why don't you go ahead and sign out of YouTube, Joseph?
Okay, so when I move over to the YouTube live stream, I can see what's happening, but I can't see the actual Zoom video.
Okay, why don't you log out of YouTube?
Okay,
Yeah, try signing out of YouTube or
Okay.
logging off.
yeah, I don't know what's happening.
That's strange.
You could just go ahead and have him share his comment because we are able to see him.
Joseph, we are able to see you. If you would like to share your concerns regarding the interpreter complaint, now would be the time.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
Thank you for your patience, and I'm sorry about the misunderstanding. You're good to go.
Okay. So, Mary Welch is the interpreter that I would like to speak to. Okay. So I was in a meeting with my lawyers. It was an online Zoom meeting. And I noticed that Mary left the call immediately and she shook her head after another person left the meeting. And so I sat there surprised, thinking, what just happened? One of the lawyers had interrupted and said that I guess Mary was taking over the call. And in her disposition and how she behaved, it looked like she was speaking on my behalf. And so there was a different attitude from the interpreter. So I decided to make this complaint.
Okay, thank you. Now, you're saying Mary. Do you mean April, Joseph?
Yes, that's right. Her name is April Welch. Correct. I apologize. Not Mary.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that we were on the same page. Thank you so much for sharing your public comment. And again, I appreciate your patience through those technical difficulties. Thank you. And now the board will discuss this complaint. All right, I'm happy that all worked out. Next, we will move on. This is an action item. I would like to thank our interpreters for their patience as we got that figured out, as we figured out the glitches. Is there any comments or further discussion from the board members? Seeing and hearing none, do we have a motion? Commissioner Benton.
Yes, I move that we send a letter of reprimand All right, give me one moment. Let me think about this. We were talking before about CEUs, and Commissioner Williams was mentioning that, and then a letter of reprimand. So those were two comments, and we do have those on the table as consequences per se, and we can't utilize both.
Would you like to go into executive session to talk
No.
things further?
I don't think it's necessary. No, this is an open part of our process, and we just need to, move through it and understand. We can use the guidelines that we do have in place as well. So I'm not sure if anyone else feel that, it's worth proposing CEUs or simply sending a letter of reprimand. So I'm curious about other people's thoughts on this.
Yeah, and I can understand your dilemma. I will share my thoughts. In my experience, when it comes to working with a lot of different interpreters, I know that customer service is an important part of the work. And the interpreters have a code of professional conduct that they need to follow. And that is something that's so important. That comes from the Registry of Interpreters for the Deaf and protects the deaf and hard of hearing communities. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Board members, any other thoughts or comments to share? The floor is open. Commissioner Scarborough?
So let's see. I think that it is a concern with several complaints that have been brought to the board for this specific interpreter. And they have been dismissed. But we do see a pattern within those. And the pattern related to misunderstandings. And mostly also related in the legal setting or quasi-legal setting. And I would probably probably recommend, if we asked for additional training, I would like that to be ethics-based in the legal setting, specifically related to legal. So that would be my recommendation, if we do ask for additional training. And that's my comments and my ideas as far as this.
Thank you, Commissioner Scarborough. Your perspective and your input is very valuable. Thank you.
I have a question.
Commissioner Venkatesh?
Yes, I just had a question, clarification. So when deciding what the consequences will be for this complaint, can it not be a letter of reprimand plus additional CEUs? It's not one or the other.
Victoria, can you pop on and explain the process to us so the board members can have a better understanding?
Yes,
Thank
so
you.
it's my understanding that it is one or the other, but to get clarification and from the source, I would suggest we ask our AAG to make sure we're all understanding appropriately.
Okay, thank you, Victoria. It might be a good idea to go into executive session to talk things over a little bit more. We have a motion.
I move that we go into executive session to discuss this further.
And I see Sherry Collins. Go ahead.
So for the record, we need a specific reason to go into an executive session regarding the name of the interpreter and that we need legal advice.
Thank you. Commissioner Venkatesh, are we looking for legal advice? Would that give us a better understanding of the situation?
Well, my question was, is there something in the regulations that state that we have to do one or the other, letter of reprimand or CEUs? And so Victoria was asked that question. She was stating that we needed to ask the AG. So that was the point of my motion.
Okay. Commissioner Benton?
So can possibly Nikki share her,
Nick Bacon?
Nick Bacon. Go ahead and share that in open session and ask so that we can ask and get an answer.
This is Nick Bacon. I apologize. My video, for some reason, the link just won't turn on. So I'm without a picture. I apologize. Commissioner Benton, I believe that would not be advisable in a case like this because I'm providing advice to my client, and if I'm doing it in an open session, it's providing it to. It's not privileged in any way. That's typically why executive session is used for providing advice to clients. And if it's being asked for specifically about the advice that about whether it's permissible to do this, then that's why that advice would be provided in executive session.
Commissioner Benton?
Thank you for that. I guess I was just trying to understand with our disciplinary guidelines, regardless of who it had to do with, it's my understanding that when we're looking at the guidelines, we can't do a combination of things from the list, that we need to pick one thing or another thing. We had a whole big issue around this some time ago. And I thought that was what we came out of this all with, just prior to you coming on.
And what I can say, and the problem is that if I'm providing advice, then I'm providing it in public. It's not privileged, but I will say that I know that that's the history of this, and I know that that's what's been that's the conclusion that was arrived at in this case.
This is Commissioner Brimhall. If we were to require CE, does that not come with some type of letter with it that would in and of itself be a reprimand?
Yeah, I think it might be best for us to go into executive session at this point. Commissioner Scarborough, I saw your camera on for just a sec. Do you have a motion?
Yes, I move that we enter executive session with the AAG for advice related to questions about specific to
April Welch.
our discussion of April Welch.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Venkatesh. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Kyla, will you do a roll call for this one as well?
Sure. Commissioner Scarborough? Commissioner Venkatesh?
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Cinco?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner O'Rourke?
Aye.
Commissioner Benton?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Aye.
Commissioner Madsen?
Aye.
And I think last but not least, Commissioner Brimhall.
Aye.
Okay. Kyla, do we have everyone here?
Let me just verify. Did you want me to do another roll call?
Yes, please.
Sure. Commissioner Venkatesh,
Here.
Commissioner Williams,
Please restate the question. I can't get captions here.
okay. I just was asking if you were here. And then Commissioner O'Rourke,
Here.
Commissioner Benton,
Here.
Commissioner Scarborough,
Here.
Commissioner Commissioner Brimhall,
Here.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yeah.
and Commissioner Madsen.
Here.
This is Commissioner Williams. I'm here.
I'm happy to hear that you're here, Fred. Okay. While in executive session, we did have some good discussion. I'm going to open the floor up to a motion. This agenda item does require action. Commissioner Benton, good to see your face again.
Thank you. So I move that we request 2 hours of code of ethics training, specifically in legal, for April Welsh within 60 days, to be completed within 60 days.
This is
Thank you.
Commissioner Brimhall. I second that motion.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to complete 2 hours of legal training and ethics within 60 days. And we have a second. Kyla, can we do a roll call, please?
Of course.
Thank you.
Commissioner Madsen,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Brimhall,
Aye.
Commissioner Scarborough,
Aye.
Commissioner Benton,
In favor.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Venkatesh,
Aye.
and last but not least, Commissioner Cinco.
I'm going to abstain. Thank you so much, everyone. We are just after 6 p.m. here. I think it might be a good opportunity for our interpreters and our cart provider to take a break. Will a 10-minute break be sufficient? Okay. We're going to take a 10-minute break now. We will return at 6:12. Thank you. Good to see you, Virginia. Okay. Let's give everyone just a couple of minutes. And then we will ask Kyla to do a roll call.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead with the roll call,
Sure will.
if you don't mind.
Commissioner Venkatesh,
Here,
Commissioner Williams,
Here,
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Here.
Commissioner Benton,
Here,
Commissioner Scarborough,
here,
Commissioner Brimhall,
Here.
Commissioner Thompson,
Here.
and Commissioner Madsen.
here.
Thank you, everyone, for returning from break. We will now be going over the next interpreter complaint, and this one is against Thomas. Wait. Yes, we'll be talking about the case for Thomas Schultz. Victoria, can you come on and give us the summary of this complaint? Thank you.
Sure. So the summary of this complaint is on June 28th, 2023, Ms. Lisa Cryer alleges Mr. Thomas Schultz was her interpreter via a video remote interpreting, via VRI during a dentist appointment. Ms. Cryer alleges that Mr. Schultz was her interpreter and that she requested to see his credentials during the call, but he declined and provided various excuses as to why he could not provide them to her. On June 29, 2023, the investigator informed Mr. Schultz about the complaint against his license and indicated that there would be further investigation and questions. On June 30th, one day later, Mr. Schultz responded, mentioning that the video remote interpreting call, the VRI call, was memorable to him due to its unique nature within his whole 17-year career. So he remembered the call I was referencing. He also stated that he had documented the interaction for future reference. However, it seems that Mr. Schultz's memory of the interaction became unclear when he was later asked questions by the investigator. He stated later that he did not remember the interaction itself or the name of the consumer, Ms. Cryer. It appears that there's a discrepancy between Mr. Schultz's initial acknowledgement of the interaction and his subsequent claim of not remembering. An important part of the investigation to note is that Ms. Cryer, the deaf consumer, took a picture of the interpreter during the interaction on June 28, 2023, in order to later ascertain who he was, since he would not provide any identifying credentials to her. In an attempt to identify him, she did post his picture, the picture that she took of him during their interaction, on social media, on Facebook, and several in the deaf community were able to identify him with that post. After he was identified, we found that Sierra.com is the company that Mr. Schultz worked for during his interaction with Ms. Cryer on June 28, 2023. Sierra.com does have a policy that their interpreters are to only share their first name and interpreter ID number, a number that Sierra.com provides to their employees. It's important to know that that company policy is in direct conflict with Arizona licensure rules that require an interpreter to provide their license upon request. The rule number is R926515. Another point is to mention that Arizona does not oversee companies that hire interpreters, but we do oversee and license interpreters as individuals themselves. It is the recommendation of the investigator that Mr. Thomas Schultz be required to take 4 hours of ethics training approved by either RID, BEI, NAD within the next 60 days. This is with the consideration that there is a conflict here between what the company requires of the interpreter and what the license issuer requires. Also, based on the evidence from what the investigator could tell, Mr. Schultz did not, at a minimum, provide the consumer with his first name and ID number during their interaction when she asked for his credentials, which led her to have to go to find who he was based on the picture. So because that minimum that even his company requires, which is the first name and the interpreter ID number was not provided, we feel that 4 hours of ethics training should be required for this particular complaint. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Victoria. Commissioners, do you have any questions that you would like to ask of Victoria? Commissioner Williams.
This is a question for Victoria, I think. Do you know if the commission has any record of other problems with this company and their procedure? In other words, if a deaf person, it's reasonable for a deaf person to want to know with whom they're dealing, who's supporting them. And there may be a way to do that through the ID number of the company or something. But when I read this case, I wondered if this was the first time this company, the interpreters from this company have had a problem. And if not, then it's obvious the ethics would probably be appropriate. I hope I haven't confused it. I just wondered if the procedures of the company, if we know we've had problems with them before on the procedures.
That's a good question. To my knowledge, this particular situation has not come up with interpreters from Sierra Comet in the past.
Commissioners, any additional questions? I see Commissioner Benton.
Thank you for that clarification regarding ACDHH's ability and how that impacts the policy and procedures regarding the company and other states as well. Other states, we can't handle the whole world, right? So I do have, I support requiring the 4 hours of ethical training approved by RID, NAD, or BEI within 60 days. So I have that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Benton. We have a motion on the floor for this individual to have to take training that's approved by RID, BEI, or NAD within 60 days. Do we have a second?
I second. All right.
I see a second from Commissioner Venkatesh. Tyler, can you please do a roll call?
I sure can. Okay, Commissioner Madsen.
In favor?
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Brimhall,
Aye.
Commissioner Scarborough,
Aye.
Commissioner Benton,
In favor.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Venkatesh,
Aye.
and Commissioner Cinco.
Aye. All right, thank you so much. The motion carries. I believe that is it for the interpreter complaints. Thank you so much, Nick Bacon, for your being here today and guiding us through this. We really appreciate you. Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda will be Nikki Sukup with the public policy and legislative update. Nikki, the floor is all yours. Hi there. Thank you and good evening. Thank you, Madam Chair. Hello, board members. I would like to take the opportunity to go over a couple of updates with public policy and the actions and activities that we've had as of late. First, I want to address the task force question that was asked by Commissioner Scarborough about the task force recommendations. PV, Carmen Greensmith, and I have talked things over. And we have talked over the next steps for the task force, for the next steps based on the task force report. We are working on a plan and we're reaching out to stakeholders and cultivating relationships. We do have a plan to reconvene the task force in order to share our final recommendations and to gather your feedback about how we should proceed. So expect more in that arena. Thank you so much for asking. The Arizona legislature finally had their sine die on July 31st. It was a record 203-day legislative session. We broke the record this year. This seems to be the year to be breaking records in politics and weather. We are currently in discussion on hearing aid coverage for those over the age of 21. We're currently engaging stakeholders, including the University of Arizona. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that's happening to put statistics and information together. Once we have culminated all of those resources and we have legislative support, expect to see something on our agenda at a future meeting. At the federal level, Sherry already mentioned the information and the activity that we've had around the Older Americans Act and the ACL filings. Also with the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. We had filings there as well with home and community-based services. Wanted to make sure I mentioned that. We also filed for recertification for our TRS, Telecommunications Relay Service, with the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission. And we will continue to provide relay services here in the state. We were recertified after we applied on July 25th, and we are good to go for the next 5 years. We are currently also reviewing information from the Department of Justice as they oversee the ADA and all rules pertaining to the ADA. They're finally at the point where they're asking for comments through their notice of proposed rulemaking. This is regarding Title II, which includes state agencies like ours, and web accessibility. We are currently reviewing the information and will provide comments. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the WCAG. Those are proposed international web content guidelines. And that goes for all different forms of access, including the disability community accessing information online. So we will respond before the deadline of October 4th. There has been a bill in Congress that was sponsored by Senator Markey. It's the Video and Technology Communications Accessibility Act. It was proposed originally in 2010, and now we are looking for an update as technology has changed and expanded. And this will only strengthen the current statute and accessibility rules for video platforms to AI, artificial intelligence, as that technology has really expanded since 2010. This new law will address all of those changes, and we're keeping a close eye on that. And of course, we will be in support of it. That wraps up our public policy report. Thank you. Any questions for me? Thank you, Nikki. Commissioners, are there any questions for Nikki? This is Nikki. Thank you. Thanks, Nikki. We appreciate you. All right, apparently I jumped the gun a bit. I overlooked the public comment about the, excuse me, when we went to public comment, I overlooked the agenda item about the executive director's report. Sherry, excuse me, executive director evaluation. Sherry, could you pop your video on, please?
It's okay. Can you pop your video on?
Thank you. Hi, Suke.
Hi there. So we were scheduled to meet this week, but to review and vote on Sherry's evaluation results. You all had access. I don't know if everybody had access to the final results. Kyla, can you tell me if everyone had access to the final results?
Suki, this is Kyla. Just to let you know, that would have been anybody that's involved in the that committee.
Okay, so I can go over the results of the evaluation for her for the executive director evaluation. We received, I think, a total of 7 responses, and for providing vision for the commission regarding roles, programs, and potential opportunities to meet constituent needs. She received 6 exceeds expectations and 1 meets expectations. Moving on to communicates and educates key stakeholders early enough that understanding of key issues can be ensured. Again, 7 responses received, 5 exceeds expectations, and 2 meets expectations. I want to see if there's a, and then adapts to changing priorities and pressures. 5 exceeds expectations and 2 meets expectations. Establishes a clear vision and values for the commission. 5 exceeds expectations, 2 meets expectations. Basically, the feedback on the leadership and administration, keep on doing what she's doing. She's doing a fantastic job. Excellent job leading ACDHH. This was the first positive response on the Health Expo for seniors. Then we went on to administration and management. Administers the annual operating plan advancing the achievement of goals and objectives set forth in statute, licensure, and other regulation. 5 exceeds expectations. 2 meets expectations. Hires, trains, motivates, assigns duties to evaluate and retain staff. 6 exceeds expectations, 1 meets expectations. Develops and controls commission's annual budget, prepares financial statements and reports, makes proper and effective fiscal decisions for the commission. 5 exceeds expectations, 2 meets expectations. Establish standards, process, procedures to monitor licensure and certification requirements as set forth by statute. 4 exceeds expectations, 3 meets expectations. Develops and reviews programs for deaf and hard of hearing, making recommendations to and cooperating with various agencies and institutions represented on the commission or in the state. 6 exceeds expectations, 1 meets expectations. Effectively and efficiently administers commissions, programs, and services. 6 exceeds expectations, 1 meets expectations. Some of the feedback was the hearing healthcare program has accomplished much. And then moving on to public outreach and public relations, informs the deaf, hard of hearing, and deafblind community of the availability of programs and activities of the commission. 5 exceeds expectations, 1 meets expectations, 1 needs improvement. Provides accurate, up-to-date information and accessibility, responsiveness to constituents and stakeholders. 5 exceeds expectations, 2 meets expectations. Continually strives to improve the quality of services provided, ensuring the needs of constituents are met. 5 exceeds expectations, 2 meets expectations. Provides support to board committees. 5 exceeds expectations, 1 meets expectation, 1 needs improvement. Represents and acts as a spokesperson for the commission and constituents in a wide range of activities. 5 exceeds expectations, 1 meets expectation, 1 needs improvement. Effectively responds to inquiries from press, legislature, governor's office, and members of the public or constituent groups. 6 exceeds expectations, 1 meets expectations. Ensures effective print, web-based media, and presentation information is provided. 5 exceeds expectation, 1 meets expectation, 1 needs improvement. And the feedback on that is great job with website and dedicated arrival on Tuesday to let individuals know what is coming. Also provided information on legislation and how it affects individuals who are hard of hearing, deaf, and deafblind. Board relations, cooperates with and supports board members' needs and concerns, works effectively with individual members and board as whole. 5 exceeds expectations, 2 meets expectations. Effectively lobbies with legislator on boards and commission's behalf. 5 exceeds expectations, 2 meets expectations. Effectively lobbies with legislature on board. Oh, that's the same one again. Sorry. Maintains a positive attitude and contributes to work on the work of the board during transition and during periods of stability. 5, exceeds expectations. 2, meets expectations. Sherry has been a rock star and has a great relationship with board members. Board relations are very positive and have been managed well with Zoom meetings so board members can attend. Annual organization goals and objectives. Increase public awareness of accessibility issues related to deaf, hard of hearing, deaf, blind, and persons with speech difficulties. 5, exceeds expectations. 1, meets expectation. 1, needs improvement. Increase the number of public and private sector partnerships in providing training and program services. 5, exceeds expectation. 1, meets expectations. 1, needs improvements. Expand public policy and advocacy efforts related to communication access in public and private sectors. 4, exceeds expectations. 2, meets expectation. 1, needs improvement. Increase the number of public and private sector partnerships. It repeated the same question again, I'm sorry. Promote awareness of the need for hearing aid services for low-income adults and varying hearing levels. 4, exceeds expectations. 3, meets expectations. Continue to monitor and improve processes related to the licensing of American Sign Language interpreters. 5, exceeds expectations. 1, meets expectations. 1, needs improvement. Continue to monitor and improve processes of the Arizona Telecommunications Equipment Distribution Program. 4, exceeds expectations. 3, meets expectations. Monitor telecommunication relay services to ensure compliance with current contract. Maintain excellent customer service and increase service usage. 5, exceeds expectations. 2, meets expectations. Maintain the most proficient staff in the field of deafness and hearing loss through professional development. 5, exceeds expectations. 1, meets expectations. 1, needs improvement. One feedback was I marked 2 as meeting expectations for lack of awareness on my part, not as a criticism. The executive director continues to emphasize accessibility issues for hard of hearing, deaf, and deafblind individuals in the state of Arizona. Under Sherry's leadership, programs which are vital to communication for all individuals have been developed and promoted. The Age of Access survey is but the beginning step in ensuring that older Americans are not left behind when technology is there to increase accessibility for communication. This includes all manner of communication and not limited to assistive listening devices, including induction loop system, telecoil, and CART, as well as specific communication means for those with speech impairments. It is great to be introduced to new personnel members and know their focus. While all personnel are great workers, I feel strongly that individuals who manage the Hard of Hearing program are doing a phenomenal job as executive director. That includes Sherry Collins. She has been in place for more than 25 years and still has the enthusiasm of a new hire. Very impressive. That's pretty much the gist of her evaluation. And again, as I said, we did not meet quorum, so we could not pass the evaluation. Any questions or comments that you would like to add at this point? I'm open to that now.
Thank you, Sue K. And hi, Maisie. Such a cute cat. All right. We're going to open up the floor for discussion. Do any commissioners have questions or comments that they would like to share with other members of the board and Sue K? Doesn't look like there are any. Thank you so much, Suke. The next item on our agenda is discussion only. This is the budget decision package. Excuse me, this does require action. Hello again. Take it away, Suke.
Okay, so I'll try and give you the briefest version possible. Our standard submission for the budget will be pretty much the same as it always is. That goes in by September 1st every year. We are not really changing anything. The only decision package we are asking for fiscal year 25-26. We met with Arizona Homeland Security and Asset, who is the Strategic Enterprise Technology, Arizona Strategic Enterprise Technology, or ASET. They are the IT folks for Arizona. We work with them as part of shared services. They sat down with us and let us know that they were, well, first of all, they were very confused that we were a .org website. And then they proceeded to let us know that we should not be a .org website, we should be a .gov website. When we became a .org website, there wasn't an Arizona Homeland Security, there wasn't an Asset, ASET department. So we weren't doing anything wrong at that time. To conform to the current policies and the current Homeland Security protocols, we want to be able to migrate over to a .gov website, which is going to mean a new website build. That means that we are going to be asking for a decision package of about $200,000 to be able to do that new website build and move it over from the .org to .gov. That includes a new database to be able to move all the licensure stuff over, plus all of our different pages and tabs that you see on the ACDHH page currently. That is what we are asking for approval from the board for our budget submission for this year. Otherwise, everything else will be standard as it always has been. It'll be everything that we have asked for and have done absolutely the same from year to year. I'm open to any questions. The only other thing I will share with you is that the state overall is moving to a new budget system. It's an all-inclusive system. Before, the budget system was buddies and cliffs for I can't even think of it, for grants, and AZIPs for the strategic planning. It's all underneath one called ABS, Arizona Budget System, which looks far easier than the old system, which I'm really excited about. And that's the big news for the financial services unit this year. But other than that, everything else is pretty much status quo. Sherry, if you want to pop on and add anything at this point, that would be great. Otherwise, I'm open to questions.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Suke, for that briefing. It is required at this point for the board to take action on this item so that we can move forward and submit our request for formal processing. So thank you again, Suke.
Thank you, Suke. Board members, do you have any questions or comments that you would like to share? This is the time for discussion. Hearing none. Thank you so much, Suke. do we have a motion on the floor?
I do have one question regarding the website design. So 200,000 that you were stating as far as accessibility?
Great question. That is part of the Homeland Security and assets requirements under the state's policy and procedures. It will have to meet Section 508 accessibility, as well as Homeland Security protections as far as being secure. So it will have to make access.
Right. So that's the governmental rules as far as accessibility. And then where there be, are we considering additional accessibility for our specific community?
That I'm going
Will
to.
that be added in? Because I do know that ASDB are receiving those questions as well.
Absolutely. And I appreciate those.
I'm putting that out there to you now.
I appreciate those questions. And actually, I am going to put that question back onto if Nikki is still here, because it's her team.
Yeah, maybe it might be an added cost for sure.
That would be on Nikki's team. Her team is the one that would be part of that design process.
Thank you, Suke. And thank you, Commissioner Scarborough, for raising this question. Yes, definitely. This is a great opportunity as we're transitioning to a new platform with Arizona State. We now have the opportunity to look into everything to see how we can better convey our information. Right now, we're doing a bit of cleanup as we review all of the different pages in our website. It's a work in progress, but we are reviewing the current content and videos. And when we're ready to actually transition over, we will identify which information we would like to transition. We're also consulting with other agencies like the Department of Health to work with them to improve their accessibility on their website. That's something that just happened, and they are recognizing our communities that use sign language, communities that use captioning, and community in general that prefers visual information. So yes, that definitely will be a part of our process. And I would like to add another reason why we are looking to the DOJ for their requirements is because WCAG just got updated to version 2.2. And so in the rules, we are currently only required to follow 2.1, but there is an updated section there so that we at least have to follow this minimum, but we will be going above and beyond that to, in summary, answer your question. Yes, absolutely. We will be meeting the needs of our community.
Great, thank you.
And thank you for keeping me honest, Commissioner Scarborough.
Thank you. Are there any additional burning questions? Not seeing any. Do we have a motion on the floor?
This is Commissioner
Lucky
Brimhall.
me.
I move to dismiss.
No, Commissioner Benton. All right, I see Commissioner Brimhall, you said a motion to dismiss.
Yes, are we completed with our agenda?
I wanted to make sure I was understanding correctly. Oh. No, we have a few more agenda items.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that's what you were looking for.
That is completely fine. I'm sorry for causing the confusion. Today has been a confusing day.
I would need a motion from the commission, from you guys to approve the decision package as part of the budget proposal.
I move that we approve the decision package as a part of the budget proposal.
We have a motion from Commissioner Benton to approve the budget package. Do we have a second?
A second.
And we have a second. Kyla, can you do a roll call, please?
I second.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
I second.
Commissioner Venkatesh,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Benton,
Aye.
Commissioner Scarborough,
Aye.
Commissioner Brimhall,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Abstain.
Commissioner Madsen,
Aye.
Commissioner Cinco.
Aye.
Okay, and just one more time for clarification, Commissioner O'Rourke,
Aye. Aye.
Great. Motion passes. Let me see what's next on our agenda. The next item on our agenda is the Jennifer Morse complaint civil penalty update. This is for discussion only. Actually, let me rephrase. The next agenda item is the interpreter licensure committee, and then we'll go over the Jennifer Morse update. Commissioner Benton?
Hello, thank you. So the commission just recently met, and that was back in August. We reviewed 44 applications, and 13 were in-state applications, and 31 were out-of-state applications. Those out of those 13 in-state, 7 were provisional interpreters. So that was nice to see. The meeting, we met again. In the past, actually, when we met in June, there was a total of 79 applicants, a total between those two meetings. So it's definitely been a lot of work. And I really thank the staff, Victoria and her team. They have been awesome. They've been doing a great job. And there's so much information. It's really, really in depth. There's a lot of details involved, and they've taken that on. They want to make sure that we're not looking over anything. So they've done a great job. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Benton. Any questions for Commissioner Benton before we move on? Okay, hearing none. The next item on our agenda is regarding the Jennifer Morse complaint update. I believe this will be Victoria's report. I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is an update that's outlined on the agenda. So during the April 2023 board meeting, a civil penalty that included $100 and 10 hours of ethics workshops were to be paid and completed by interpreter Jennifer Morse within 90 days of the April 13th, 2023 board meeting. As of May 29th, 2023, both the fee and workshop hours were satisfied by Ms. Morse. Staff will send a letter of satisfaction and close this matter with Ms. Morse. During the audit process of the 10 hours of ethics workshops required by the board, staff noted that 2 of the ethics workshops completed by the licensee seemed to be primarily for spoken language interpreters. This is the first time a certified licensee complying with board discipline has sought CEUs outside of the certification maintenance program. Due to lack of being specific in what courses were acceptable and which ones were not, it is staff's recommendation to accept the courses completed by the licensee and to close this matter. Additionally, staff recommends the following language for future board actions requiring licensees to obtain CEUs. Workshops are required to be approved by RID or NAD or BEI for certification maintenance and/or workshops that are provided by an entity involved with the deaf and hard of hearing community. So if we add that excerpt when we're requiring the workshops, we feel that that will ensure the interpreters will take the workshops that align with the profession of being an American Sign Language interpreter. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. Do any commissioners have questions? Commissioner Scarborough?
So I would like to request that the next time the commission has guidance like this, the most recent guidance you just mentioned, please provide that prior to any complaints that the commission does hear. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that feedback, Commissioner Scarborough. Commissioner Benton?
I would also like to ask for an update of the disciplinary action and the guidelines related to that exact information that you shared. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Victoria. We appreciate it. The next item on our agenda is any future agenda items that members of the Board of Commissioners would like to see on our future meeting agendas. Commissioner Scarborough?
Let's see. I'm not sure about this topic, but I'd like to get an update regarding the commission and their focus and research on interpreting agencies. I know we've had a lot of focus on individual interpreters, but however, we do have several complaints that do relate back to agencies that are referring those individual interpreters. So I would like to know if there is any update regarding that from the commission and what what you might be able to do or what we could actually do in that sense and possibly in the future related to agencies. I do feel like a lot of complaints do correlate back to the agency and not always the individual interpreter. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Scarborough. That is an extremely valid point, and I would like to see that on our November agenda as well. Are there any other agenda items that commissioners have? Hearing and seeing none, we will move on to the next item on our agenda. This agenda item is regarding the interpreter shortage. This agenda item was a request of Commissioner Andrew Cohen. Because he is not here this evening, I believe it would be far more appropriate to move this agenda item to the November board meeting. The next agenda item is adjournment. Is there a motion on the floor to conclude today's meeting? Do you really want to stay on here?
This is Commissioner Brimhall. I move that we adjourn.
We have a motion
I second.
by Commissioner Brimhall, and it looks like now everyone is giving us a second. And I am ready for dinner and a margarita after such a crazy day. All right, I wanted to take the time to thank everyone for your patience, your guidance, and your incredible team effort. Our next meeting will be November 16th. And remember, you do have the option to meet either virtually or in person. You'll be getting more information from Kyla as we get closer to that meeting. Thank you all so much for what you do for the community. Love you all. Thank you so much.